Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This podcast is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Now more than ever, our internet reliance is increasing, from talking to loved ones, to streaming your favourite shows, to watching any of the podcasts here on Stretford Paddock. And with that increased footprint, so does our need for proper internet security. And Surfshark is a VPN service that encrypts your data, which stops anyone unwanted from seeing it. Another great thing about Surfshark is it allows you to see all of the great content from around the world. Simply sign in to Brazil and check out their Netflix. You can watch Croatian Amazon Prime. And when you're on holiday, you can still watch all of your shows from back home simply by changing it to your home nation. It is that simple. And currently Surfshark have an amazing deal. By clicking the link in the description and using our code Paddock, you can get a whole 3 months extra for free. That is 3 months extra for free. In addition, Surfshark also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, use that link in the description and use the code Paddock for 3 months for free and a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is Transfers Live. That is Joe Smith. We are late. We apologise. It was all because our legal department had to check out one of Ethan's puns because they were questionable legally, from a legal point of view.
It was described as culturally hellish.
Yeah, culturally hellish.
In the documentation.
And documentation. So we've got our lawyers to double check it and we're okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. We're not going to get sued. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well.
Yes.
And it's kicking off again, isn't it? The last couple of weeks we've stood here and United seem to be sauntering towards transfer mediocrity. Well, now, Jay, we're being catapulted through a transfer cataclysm. And actually, it's kicking off big time, and we're sort of embarrassing ourselves on a global scale.
We are embarrassing ourselves, but you're not going to embarrass yourself by clicking like, share, and subscribe.
Click it.
Get involved in all the clicky business and all that jazz. We've got loads of stories to get through. Like Joe has said, it's become an absolute shambles.
Yeah.
It looked like this transfer window was doing quite well.
Yeah.
When I say, it looked like, at the early part when we got a goalkeeper sorted and a striker, and you think, okay, maybe that's not too bad. And now it's just degenerated into farcical proportions.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about Sofyan Amrabat, which has now become an absolute comedy.
Well,
so we'll get into that. We'll get into Donny van der Beek. I think there's a story there which sort of surprised me, because I don't mean to be hating on the kid, but it's almost like he's the forgotten man in more ways than once. And also the left-back situation. What's going on with Cucurella?
Yeah.
Is he coming here or not? We'll get into all that, so make sure you are sticking with us and hitting that like button as well. Right, talk to me, brother.
Yes.
What's first on the
Let's
agenda?
start with Cucurella, because we've got some advancements on Amrabat that's come out this evening. But before that, let's go on this. A Cuckoo loan fee. What is that?
Right. Cuckoo, cuckoo, you're cuckoo.
A cuckoo.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you're a little bit off key.
Yeah. Nuts.
Yeah, nuts. Loan fee.
Yeah, that's nice. Well done, Ethan. United have been told it will cost them £7 million to take Marc Cucurella on loan. Fabrizio Romano tweeted yesterday afternoon, understand Manchester United have reached an agreement in principle with Cucurella on personal terms, which is obviously the main hurdle in terms of getting the players' side of things over the line. Green light approved on player side. Man United won't negotiate for any other left-back now, there you go, as they want to get Cucurella deal done with Chelsea as soon as plausible. According to reports, Chelsea are said to be open to a loan, but they would want a payment of £7 million to let the Spaniard move to Old Trafford for the season. What are you saying? What do you make of that? Should we just pay it?
It's mad, isn't it, that Cucurella, from that one good season at Brighton, if we're being honest, has had Chelsea, City and United after him. Yeah. Even after he's had a disastrous season at Chelsea, United still want him.
Yeah.
A lot of it is desperation. We need a left back. We can't just rely on Diogo Dalot to play at left back. We've got some big games coming up, of course. We know he's capable of playing well. He played well for Brighton. I get it. £7 million though, for someone who could basically be here for a couple of months, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when Luke Shaw's fit, he don't get in the team.
True, but he can play centre back, is it? Cucurella? I know what you mean. But they paid 20 million for João Felix on loan for about 3 weeks last year.
I suppose they might look at it that way then. Go, well, we pay silly money for the loan fees. We paid silly money for him. Yeah. We paid 60 odd million quid for him and he was terrible. We've had him for one season so far. I'm ready to get rid of him already. So 7 million quid, it is excessive. I mean, to me, that seems like too much. It depends whether United can afford it with the FFP and all that other stuff. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. Get involved in the comments in the chat. Let us know what you think. Joe.
Nice.
Gio, not Gio, Gio Goy, which used to be a clothing brand in Manchester, says, joined a friend's fart group on WhatsApp. That's a reference to Sloppy Joe's. We was on the Sloppy Joe's podcast. Myself and Scotty were on Joe's podcast last night. Sloppy Joe's reaching 100 episodes. Well done, Ethan. Well done, Joe.
Thanks,
well done, Joe McGrath as well.
But forget about all of that.
That's a reference to that.
Let's talk about Manchester United, because 7 million quid for a loan, is that standard? I don't know. It feels like you only hear about it when it's people ridiculing it.
But you know
is
what,
that standard? Is that
the
what people
operative
do?
word here,
what?
if I can find it, it's even here, is Chelsea.
Yeah.
Chelsea, everything they do in transfers now is mental. You pointed out, United wanted Felix, but we didn't get him because of the loan fee. They said, we'll have it. Yeah. They spend 80 million on Mudryk, who's woeful. Yeah. They've spent something like, is it 800 million or something in the last 18 months? Something ridiculous that you think can't be right. Surely that's wrong. And it ain't. It is right. Yeah. Because they've spent a ridiculous amount of money and they still need to spend more. Yeah. If you look at that team, it's short.
They're still lacking a sort of big name striker or a striker of any experience. They're still, I think, lacking it at centre back. Personally, I still think there's
still Silva still gets a game. Going to Thiago Silva, and he's what, 38 now.
Yeah.
So there's issues there.
Yeah. Both fullbacks are injury prone.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper's unproven and was third choice at Brighton. It is odd that the amount of money that they've spent and the fact that you look through their team, and they could go on and do great things this season, of course they could, Leicester won the league, but you look through their team and it doesn't immediately strike you as the makings of a transfer genius who's had essentially an endless budget over the last 18 months. No one has ever in the history of football, including the Saudi teams, no team has ever spent this much in an 18-month period, ever. And you wouldn't look at that team and go, wow, haven't they spent it well?
That team could finish 5th.
It could finish 7th, 8th. It could easily finish behind Brighton, Tottenham, Chelsea, City, not Chelsea, Liverpool, City, United and Arsenal. Easily could finish behind all those teams.
Nays Afele says anything over 4 million for this loan is madness.
I don't know what that means though. Why do we think that? I know what you mean, and I instinctively go 7 million, poppycock. Yeah. Then you go anything over 4 million. Why is that all right? That 3 million? Anything over 4 million is absolute madness.
4 million, take it. Yeah. 4.5 million or 4.25.
It's madness.
No,
it's absolute madness.
Mental.
I, to be honest, I think this deal's going to get done, isn't it? It looks like the words that we're using here, green light. In terms of Cucurella's involvement, he wants to make the deal, which is obviously a big sign and a good sign for United. Also, Chelsea want and are willing to let him leave. That's another good sign for United. We want him. I don't see a way where this doesn't get done. We need a left back. We've literally, as it stands, got no first choice or first team left backs at the club. You know, and I know Fernandes looks promising, but he's never been a first team player. So United need a left back, and if he's the one we want, then I think this will probably end up getting done personally. The
Juan of Pipe in the super chat says, why not a 5 to 10 million loan move for Amrabat? Make a little sense to move it forward and get it done.
Well, we'll get to that in just a second.
We will get to that. Eric in the chat says, Glazers out, always. What a great sentiment. AJ Wright 6197 says, Jay, how is your auntie chafing? She's all right. She's on tablets. Right, what's next on the agenda?
Let's talk about Amrabat. So this is the other big one then that sort of exploded into life today. Because we were hearing yesterday and the day before that sort of Hojbjerg, which we'll get onto, was the new flavour of the month or the flavour of the day. Do you think you look like him?
No.
Why are you doing that then?
I don't know. I just like the foes.
Amrabated away. Nice.
Yeah.
United's €2 million bid to loan Sofyan Amrabat from Fiorentina has been rejected. It was early reported that United were attempting to structure a deal with the club's financial fair play parameters in mind. United approached the Serie A club with a proposal that included a fixed loan fee payable in two €1 million instalments. However, a break clause was also included in the loan agreement. The break clause, effective in January, would come prior to the second £1 million instalment. Fiorentina turned down the offer on the basis they would only be guaranteed £1 million. Wow.
Euros?
Sorry, €1 million. There has since been an update on this in the last 5 minutes from Fabrizio Romano. He has said Manchester United preparing a formal bid for Sofyan Amrabat, always been the top target. And he says, crucially, it's sort of in contrast to the Athletics article, no loan proposal sent to Fiorentina, just informal talks. So I suppose it's not fully in contrast to this, but it's putting far less emphasis on this loan deal than the Athletic have. It's sort of saying, well, let me read the rest of it before I say that. Fiorentina could be open to a loan, but with an obligation to buy based on certain conditions. Sofyan waiting for Manchester United since June. So it's not necessarily contradicting that, but it's certainly saying that actually this talk of a loan, that, you know, this stuff basically is being slightly over-exaggerated, slightly exaggerated in that this was never a formal offer. So all of these details were sort of Richard Arnold just having a bit of a laugh by the sound of Fabrizio Romano's tweet there. What do you make of it?
One thing I will say about Romano, he's ultra reliable anyway, but especially with transfers in Italy.
Oh yeah,
that's like his bread and butter.
Yeah.
So
you couldn't get a Rizzler paper between him and the transfers in Italy, could you?
No,
they're that close.
He's all
that
over
tight.
it. That's just him. I mean, he's peak anyway, but with that even more so.
Yeah.
So Manchester United, formal bid for Sofyan Amrabat, always been a top target. There has to be something in this. We have to want this kid a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's been going on for months, and this morning I thought it was done.
Yeah.
In my news this morning, I was saying, like, look, it looks like it's gone a bit cold. We've linked quite heavily with Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, so it looked like something was going to go down there. And now it's shifted back into it's looking like it's going to be Amrabat, and it's looking like some sort of deal could be made. Obviously not one that guarantees Fiorentina €1 million, which, let's have it right, doesn't even buy you Zidane Iqbal. And I'm not being dismissive of Zidane Iqbal, I like the kid. But you can't sell Zidane Iqbal for the same amount of money you're going to bring in Sofyan Amrabat for. That just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, it seems a bit ridiculous, all this. Yeah. But we'll wait and see, because Romano's kind of downplaying this a little bit, saying no loan proposal sent to Fiorentina. Yeah. So if there's no loan proposal sent to Fiorentina, this isn't true.
Yeah,
they both can't be true.
But that's what I'm saying. Maybe they can't be true. Maybe
United approached the Serie A club with a proposal that included a fixed loan fee payable in two $1 million installments.
In that instance,
he's saying no loan proposal.
The informal talks is, I would say he's leaving the door open that the idea of a loan, I think, has been discussed.
Yeah.
But like you said, you are right. This can't be fully true because they've said it is a proposal. He said specifically it isn't.
It feels like that's a reaction to this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I do think this, like he's mentioned in there has been mention of a loan, but it's not been packaged, sort of put together, bow on top.
Do we know who the author in The Athletic was? Because The Athletic are very reliable.
Yeah.
And there's loads of, I'm not going to...
Producer Ethan's on that.
Because I'm not going to dismiss The Athletic and say, they don't know what they're on about.
Yeah.
Because... we have athletic journalists on here all the time. Whoever's writing about United, I think that all their United journalists are usually on point. So I'd be very surprised if it was just sort of like well wide of the mark. Who is it?
It was
James Horncastle. So they've got...
He's their Serie A correspondent.
Serie A correspondent. Yeah. Whoever they have, I remember we had Peter Rutzler, I think it was on once. He was the Bournemouth correspondent.
Yeah.
They've obviously got Laurie and Carl and Maitland who do United.
Yeah.
James Horncastle does Serie A. I'm sure he's got his sources.
Yeah.
I just feel that, for me, what Romano says goes, especially on this one.
And also, it could even just be a sort of a semantic difference in terms of James Horncastle's heard, United were talking about they wanted a loan for €2 million, but Fiorentina said that they only wanted, this guarantee of €1 million wasn't enough for him. And he could have packaged that as that's a proposal.
Yeah.
And maybe, it could be that this conversation has happened, but Romano thinks it wasn't quite as formal as Horncastle has decided to present it.
Get involved in the comments in the chat. Let us know what you think about it. At least Amrabat seems to be flavour of the month with a lot of United fans. I'll get into it now. Vincent McDonald says, please let us sign Amrabat. He's exactly is capitalised what we need. Andy Wilson says, I'm hoping club has been sold, hence stingy loans. I hope you're right, bro. Dodgy's mum says, carefully worded, this happened. Ben Sorville has also pointed out it's Horncastle. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Some people saying it's just carefully worded. It's just some people saying it's different. Real Killers 11 says the club isn't a joke. The Glazers are. Deanie 2K MTB says put in a bid for Benson and Hedges. Yes, love that. Have you ever seen Mike Bassett, England manager?
Yes, but I was a child and I've not seen it as an adult, so I don't really remember any of it.
Superb.
Yeah.
Should we move on anyway?
Absolutely.
What's next on the agenda?
Well, Hojbjerg, because...
because this was your little one with your mate Darmesh Seth, you.
Yeah.
Getting me all excited.
Yeah.
Saying, Hojbjerg, see United. Go on, I'll let you talk us through this and then I'll lay into you.
Well, much like Darmesh, we've got the Telegraph here. A long walk off a short Pierre.
I think that's elite.
That might be the best one.
Is that you? I think that is elite.
But then it is elite in terms of getting the word Pierre and Pierre. But Ethan, what does a long walk, let's say there is no pun, a long walk off a short pier, what does that mean in terms of the context of the transfer?
Well,
Amrabat's now favoured. So he's took a long walk off a
it's
short
multi-layered.
pier. It's beautiful.
Because Hojbjerg is quite short as well.
He's 6'2". United are considering
compared to you,
Do you know what? I thought he was short.
Yeah.
Because he's got a sort of robust.
I thought Martial was short until he met him.
He's 6'1".
Yeah.
I know.
I was like,
They've got because it's the neck to shoulder ratio that makes someone, and the legs. Just say no more. United are considering a surprise move for Tottenham's Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. So these two things do seem to be sort of concurrent at the minute. The Hojbjerg and the Amrabat. It's clear United want to end this window with a defensive midfielder. United have been offered the chance to open talks over Hojbjerg, who Spurs are willing to sell before Friday's transfer deadline. Atletico Madrid had a bid of £30 million accepted earlier in the summer for the 28-year-old, but the move collapsed after a failure to agree personal terms. Hojbjerg recently also turned down the chance to join Saudi Pro League, despite being offered a highly lucrative salary package of 45 million quid net of tax. Net of tax? Why is he being paid tax? A salary package of 45 million. Oh, net of tax over the term of his contract. Woof. It's a big boy to turn down, isn't it?
It is. Played a lot of games, didn't he, Hojbjerg?
53, 48, 44 in the last 3 seasons for Tottenham.
Do you know my lad must have watched your news yesterday because he came into the kitchen spouting those figures this morning.
Oh, did he?
And I said, you watched Joe's news, didn't you? He's like, yeah.
Oh, that's
He's got
so
a very
nice.
good memory with
that's
numbers.
Good, very good.
Yeah, me and his mum were like, what? And then I clocked it. I thought, hang on a minute.
Well,
So yeah, I hope you weren't swearing on that news.
No.
If he picks up swear words, I'll know where to come because I never fucking swear in our house. Yeah, I like Hojbjerg. Good player last season.
Yeah.
Good player for Spurs. If we could bring him in as an option, I'm bout it, as the kids used to say. But I don't like it's happening anymore.
Well,
you got me all excited, you and Darmesh, and now I don't think we're going to get Amrabat and him.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to get Amrabat, or certainly we're trying to get Amrabat, which makes me think that we're not going to get him anymore.
Well, it looks like the Titanic Manchester United might avoid the Hojbjerg.
Okay, yeah. Should we give him that one? Get involved in the chat. Yeah, Ethan's the punking tonight as well, by the way.
Punkin?
Yeah, we'll give him that one. Yeah.
So, right, let's just in this then, obviously. We aren't signing Hojbjerg and Amrabat. I don't think anyone said that we are.
Not a
What's
chance.
clear is we've got options 1, 2 and 3 here. And I think seemingly, according to David Ornstein, according to Romano again tonight, it seems as though Amrabat is that number 1 option.
Yeah.
And yet, there are still some people who think that a lot of the Amrabat talk, and as we mentioned on the Amrabat deal before, he's been waiting for United since June. A lot of that talk, some people think, is coming from his side almost more than the United side.
There must be some. I understand that. I saw a tweet. I think it was Casey Evans, funnily enough, who used to be on the channel, saying that Amrabat is 2 steps away from going on hunger strike in a church because he's just like he couldn't do more to try and push this move over the line. But the sort of fly in the ointment is you need United to bid. You need United to pay what Fiorentina want. They're not just going to let you go for nothing. So it doesn't matter how much you want that move to happen. It's not going to happen without your say so. I think it might have been Sky were mentioning it earlier. This feels like Peter Ondamwengi, doesn't it? Where he's going to turn up at Old Trafford, hanging out of his car window, going, "I'm here to sign for United," and they're going to go, "Well, no one's bid for you." So yeah, it does. Like, obviously, the player wants it. I've no doubt Eric Ten Hag likes him. Work with him. That seems to be an almost like requisite for Eric Ten Hag. practically every player we're linked with, he's worked with or he knows, other than, I think, Casemiro was the exception. So there does seem to be something in it, but I don't know, for me now, this morning it felt like Amrabat was done. Yeah. That was my news. Yeah. Yesterday yours was Hojbjerg was
done as in off.
Off.
Yeah.
You were saying yesterday, and Darmish was saying yesterday, Hojbjerg was some real interest there, something was happening. And so it was all about Hojbjerg up till about 3 or 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
And now we seem to be back in the Amrabat camp.
Yeah.
It could shift again.
Can we get a poll in the comments, Ethan, please, of who would people prefer to sign? And while we wait for that to come through, who would you prefer? Because obviously Amrabat, there's something sort of more attractive about the unknown of Amrabat, I think. He's not played in the Premier League before. He was sensational in the World Cup with Morocco, as almost all of their team was. Hojbjerg, 18 months ago, his stock was really high. Tottenham fans loved him. He was being lauded as one of their best signings in years. Now he's gone off the boil, completely not fancied by Postecoglou whatsoever. And people don't really seem to fancy it. It seems like, I'm going to guess, and the poll is in the comments now, so get in there. I would guess people prefer Amrabat. Who do you prefer?
I've seen more of Hojbjerg.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for me because I don't watch a lot of Fiorentina.
Yeah.
I know people have been raving about Amrabat and they've seen him do some good things for Fiorentina. We watched him in the final, didn't we? Am I imagining that against West Ham?
Yeah, I think I would, again, and I'm not...
And again,
I'm sure a lot
vague
of people
memories, I don't even can't remember it
but
barely.
I would say that most people who are Man United fans, the only times, or the large majority of times they've ever seen Amrabat would be in the Europa League in the World Cup.
Yeah,
because most people aren't watching Fiorentina and Serie A.
No,
let's
I'm
be
not.
honest.
I know. I'd love to watch more
Yeah.
Italian football. Football that's not just English. But I don't. So, for me, Hojbjerg, I know what he's about. I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
I probably just about prefer him because I know more about him.
Yeah.
I know he is a good player who I think can do a job. Probably if Casemiro's not playing.
Yeah.
And again, I know they're not identical types of players, but it feels like that would be his situation.
I mean,
Amrabat, I've not seen as much of. If you see more of Amrabat and you can say, Jay, trust me, this kid's one, I'll listen to you because I haven't seen him. That's my issue.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't rate him. I've just seen him in the World Cup, which I always think is a slightly flawed metric, for judging someone. Because yes, they did very well. Morocco got to the semis. You don't do that unless you're a very good team.
Yeah.
But
how many of that Greece team that won the Euros went on to be world class?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to use international football as your main reason for judging someone and buying someone as a sort of supplement as you go, he's meant for his club and look what he's done for his country. Yeah. But when you go in, he was great in the World Cup, let's get him because of that. I'm always a little bit wary of that because I think, Richarlison at the beginning of the World Cup looked like the best striker ever.
Yeah.
And I think he scored more goals in one game for Brazil than he scored in the Premier League in 2 years or something.
Yeah.
It's like you say, you can't always know what's going on there. Danny says, like Kane, Hojbjerg is Spurs, Amrabat is clean slate.
Yeah.
Check the poll, 92% want Amrabat.
Yeah, insane.
I mean, if United are watching this poll, we'll probably buy him because they like listening to the fans, don't they? Remember the Arnautovic thing that just sort of came and went in a heartbeat.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't think it would be that overwhelming. I had a guess, like I said, that Amrabat would win. I genuinely feel like I can't imagine how much of Amrabat people have seen.
Do you think they're lying?
No, I don't think they're lying, but I do think that a lot of it is the World Cup and the Europa League.
With a player, you see a few games and you love him and you think, wow, there's something about him. Where if you see someone who's just a bit slow and steady, and also with Spurs, most of the Spurs games you'll watch, or a lot of them, because I watched a lot of Spurs last year, bizarrely, not all good games. I remember watching one game, I think it was against Wolves, where Basuma came on and was dreadful. Yeah. And Hojbjerg, when I saw him playing for Spurs, played really well. The issue is, you might have those games where the televised games, Super Sunday or whatever, where it's Spurs against City, or it's Spurs against Arsenal, or it's Spurs against Liverpool, and it's Spurs even against United didn't do very well, did they? I know they drew in the end, but it wasn't a good performance by Spurs. They just had a good 20 minutes at the end. Yeah. Where you're watching him, and say you watch him 6 times that season against the top 6 and they don't do that well. Yeah. So you think, well, actually, he's not that great. Whereas he played a lot of football. They've won a lot of matches as well. And when I've seen him, I've been quietly impressed with him. I think he's that kind of player who just gets on with it, does his job, isn't the most spectacular midfielder. But if he was to come in and just give Casemiro a bit of a breather now and again, even if it was at the end of games, like when it's 20 minutes to go, or 10 minutes to go, and you bring on McTominay or whatever, it's usually McTominay now, isn't it, now for everyone. I like Scott McTominay, but I always think I'm a little bit concerned because sometimes I think it takes him a while to get used to the pace of the game, and sometimes he can be a bit all over the gaff. I think if you take off Casemiro or even an Eriksen and bring on Hojbjerg, it's trying to see a game out or whatever, that makes more sense to me. I think that's more comfortable.
Me too. Yeah, I would genuinely happy with either of them.
Yeah,
I don't
agree. I'm not saying I don't want Amrabat. Would you prefer Amrabat? Sorry,
there's something slightly more sort of instinctively enticing about Amrabat, isn't there? He's from a sort of plucky, overachieving nation in the World Cup, which are the best things to watch in football, is a team that no one thought would do well, doing fantastically well. That was amazing to watch, and him and Hakimi and a couple of others were just sensational in that run. So that makes me like him and makes me want him. And also, I think Fiorentina were runners-up in the Coppa Italia and in the Europa Conference League, so they did well in the cup competitions last year as well. Again, overachieving, and he's got this sort of excitement about him. But I do think Hojbjerg would be good as well. I genuinely would be happy with either. I think we need one of them because we've seen Casemiro not been at his best, and it's not even just a case of United are in this weird position where, because we've only got in certain areas one player, like we have one striker and it's Anthony Martial, we have one defensive midfielder and it's Casemiro. Because we've only got one of those two positions, Casemiro's not allowed a bad spell because he has to keep playing, and people then go, oh, he's finished. Well, he might just be having a bit of a bad patch. He might just be not fully fit, or he might just be knackered or whatever. But he's not allowed to have that because there's no one to replace him. So whoever it is, I really do hope United can sort out this loan fee, this sort of transfer fee, obligation to buy business, whatever it is, because we need someone to be able to just give him a break as much as anything.
100%, I couldn't agree more. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think. The poll is out there. 91%
ridiculous
preferring Sofyan Amrabat over Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. Yeah. So it's massive in terms of the fan base. Everyone, 9 out of 10 basically would rather see us sign Amrabat. Let us know your thoughts on it. Let us know why, if you're saying that, if you're, like most of you are for Amrabat, why is that? What is it about Amrabat that you prefer to Hojbjerg? I'm really interested to hear what people have got to say. We will revisit this. There's going to be more twists and turns. We'll see what happens, hopefully, regardless of which one it is. We need one. I just wonder, is this... I take it they're both loan. I take Hojbjerg as a loan because we haven't got any money.
But again, it might be with an option to buy.
Option to buy?
Yeah.
Also, I wonder...
Or an obligation to buy, sorry, because I think he's in the last year of his deal.
Yeah.
So it would be an obligation, yeah.
Yeah. I just wonder as well how much of this, if anything, the manager is looking at it and going, when Kobbie Mainoo comes back, he's an option for me. Yeah. I just need someone for... Because I think had Kobbie Mainoo stay fit, he'd have got games this season. I don't think he'd have started every week, I'm not saying that, he's only a kid. But I think he would have got minutes, 100%. And he showed, I know it was on the Arsenal game, but you can see the way that Tenag's been treating him, the way he leapfrogged the likes of Savage and the likes of Zidane Iqbal, the way he played when he did play for Manchester United. There's something about this kid. And he's always been ahead of the game. He was in the academy team when he was 16. So he's a very, very talented young midfielder. And I think had he not got injured against Real Madrid, we'd have already seen him playing for Manchester United this season, and I hope he returns soon because we need him. Let's move on then.
Yeah. Van der Beek. Van der not quite Greek. Wait a sec. Yeah, but what's the not quite Greek? Because Turkey's near Greece.
That's awful.
Horrendous.
Right.
Yeah.
You have been flying.
Yeah.
You've
had such
this
You've
video.
been doing so well.
Your puns have been chef's kiss, yeah? You've absolutely smashed it. But that, Van der not quite Greek, I can't have it. I'm sorry.
Because you can't say that, it's like, would you say England's not quite Scotland? I suppose you could. I don't even know.
How close is Turkey?
This is the one the lawyers were ringing us about, by the way.
What?
This is the one that they were ringing
How
us.
close is it? Oh,
Yeah.
they're next to each other?
Yeah.
Oh, right. So
I think Cyprus. What?
Right. What?
I don't know. Galatasaray have made an approach to Manchester United for Donny van der Beek. Yeah?
Yeah.
United are willing to let Van der Beek leave on loan, with Erik ten Hag omitting the Dutch midfielder from all 3 Premier League squads so far. Lorient have also registered an interest in the 26-year-olds, but the talks with Galatasaray are more advanced at this stage. Another unnamed club. Well, first of all, I know he's not that good, but he can go to a club that's got a name. He's not that bad. Just some unnamed club. They've got a name, Jay. How shit do you have to be at football to play for a team that doesn't even have a name? Even Stretford Paddock FC have got a name.
Where does it say? What's this?
Another unnamed club have also made contact about a move. Unbelievable. Not even bothered to register themselves as having a name. That is absolutely pathetic. Real Sociedad's interest has cooled. A move for Sofyan Amrabat would be independent of Van der Beek's potential departure. I don't know how it can be fully independent, because I know that I'm probably only going to get 6 or 7 million for him, or whatever it may be. But surely that 6 or 7 million is better than no million. Surely that goes towards financial fair play to a certain extent.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, this is just tragic, isn't it? Donny van der Beek. It is.
It is, yeah.
The whole story of him coming
sad,
to Manchester
actually,
United. I mean, this is a player that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't want.
No.
He just didn't want him. It was obvious from day one.
Yeah.
And like everyone raved about the fact that, Edwin van der Sar and Ole got on the phone to each other and he got this deal over the line. I don't even know if Ole was involved in the deal itself. Got this deal over the line, 35 million for a kid who's just, been nominated for the Ballon d'Or and helped Ajax get to the semi-finals of the Champions League and he's mint and all this, that and the other. Ole didn't want him. He's not the player that Ole wanted at all. And then his old manager comes in, the guy that made him the player he is, and you think, great, this is it, couldn't go any better for you now. Well, sorry, in between all that as well, you have Ralph Rangnick, who, sends him out on loan to Everton. He's injured for half of that. He has 16 games at Everton. He misses 8 of them with injury. The other 8 he does quite well, I think, especially at Goodison rather than away from home. But doesn't set the world alight. Obviously, it's not helped the fact he misses a load of games. Comes back, then he's got his old manager there. You think this is going to be great. This get your career going again. The manager that gave you your big break sort of thing, and well, not giving his big break, but the manager that helped him become the player he is. We're going to see you kick on now and get loads of minutes. Doesn't really get a lot of minutes, but then when he does play, he gets injured and he's out for the rest of the season. And now we're in a situation where you've got a player who's approaching what should be his peak years.
I know, he's 26.
26.
That's sad. It is sad.
That's ideal. And there's nothing wrong with Donny van der Beek. He's not a dislikable guy. No. He's not a player who's terrible. No. He's not someone who seems to, doesn't put any effort in when he comes on or doesn't try and train him from what we gather. He's an all right lad. He's just had a horrendous 3 years, whatever it's been. Yeah. He really has, and I feel for him. I do. And I think there was this sort of clamour for him to start at one point, and saw some nonsense online when it was like, we need to drop Bruno and play Donny van der Beek, and I don't know what planet people are on to think that.
Yeah.
He was never at that level, but he could do a good job. But now I feel like, you can see it, he's struggling. He's struggling to get any interest. And even clubs like Real Sociedad, decent Spanish club, but come on, they're not.
I know. We're
not talking about a Barcelona or a Real Madrid here. Do you know what I mean? And this is a kid who was linked with those sorts of clubs when he was at Ajax. Yeah. There was talk of him going to one of the big boys.
Yeah, Real Madrid, wasn't it?
Yeah. And now, Real Sociedad are like, maybe. Lorient, again, okay, a decent club. I'm not dismissing these clubs. My point is that this was a guy whose star was so bright. He was absolutely flying. And he's just had 3 years from hell, basically. Mm-hmm. Nothing has gone right for him. And I feel for him, I really do, because he's in danger, man, of just ending his career kicking around at a club where nothing's happening for him. Yeah. And I still think there's a player there. I just think he needs the right system. I think you could stick him in a very, very good team with good players around him and he wouldn't look out of place. Yeah. I just think you've got to have that right system, and that system ain't Manchester United. What do you think about Donny van der Beek?
Yeah, I agree with you. It almost felt like Ajax sold us him rather than we bought him, if you know what I mean. It felt like, they let us have him. Okay, great, let's sort that. It'll work out. When really we spent 40 million quid on a player that we have arguably the best player, certainly then as well, in the world in that position in Bruno Fernandes. I think he just had his 30-goal season for United. Then we're going to get another number 10 in when we've got defensive midfield issues, we've got striker issues, we've got all sorts of issues in the squad at that time. It always felt a bit doomed, and I feel bad for him. I just hope he can get a move and just restart his career, because he could have a dodgy year, a good year, and a really good year, building back his career, and still only be 29. So there's plenty of time left for him. He's got to get out this summer, and I feel bad for him, but it just hasn't worked out, has it?
We saw it with Jesse Lingard a few years ago. He didn't take advantage of it, but he had an amazing loan spell at West Ham. Yeah. Where everyone thought this guy's done. Went to West Ham, smashed it, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, there's a player here. Fortunate thing for Jesse Lingard is he didn't get him a move anywhere, and he came back to United and wasted the next 18 months, and then went to Forest and wasted another year. But we just wasted the next 9 months, I think. But Donny, like you say, 26. He's not, he's still young. I hope he gets to move anywhere.
Yeah,
honestly,
me too.
Just get him playing football. He needs to go and play some football because he's neither, what's the expression? Is it? Can't remember.
Neither use nor ornament.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Neither use nor ornament. In a minute, he's just there, isn't it? And it's sad to see a player who, not that long ago, we were all buzzing about. Should we go on to I think this is the final one.
Yeah, I don't think we need to stay on this one for very long. Essentially, Besiktas are potentially coming in for Mason Greenwood. The question of it is will it be a loan or a full sale? And I think obviously we'll find out in 2 days. But I think it would be unwise of United not to make it a full sale one way or the other, because having him still on the books after the statements that were released would be a disaster.
I think it might be Paul Hurst in the Times. And forgive me if it isn't, because I know no one wants to be put on a Mason Greenwood story at the minute they didn't write. But I think it was talking about the fact that United might have to make a difficult decision soon in terms of, do we let him go?
Yeah.
Cancel his contract sort of thing. Because if no one's coming in for him, and time's running out with transfer windows and stuff, then what's he going to do?
What are you going to do?
And if you're saying, which is what the club is saying, you've got a duty of care to this lad, then you can't just have him at the club, but he's not being able to play for the club.
Not even just duty of care, just contractually. We've said he's going to leave, so he needs to leave.
And no one's come in for him.
How are we going to get rid of him? You can't cancel his contract because he's not broken the law. I don't think.
Well, there was talk of that. Do you mutually say, like, we'll just terminate your contract and you're free to go?
Yeah.
Because he might want that.
But he might want that. But he also might think, well, I want the money that the contract is owed.
If you don't want to do that, then...
No.
Then
so who knows? But
it's a minefield.
It is.
Either way.
And United find themselves in a tricky situation again.
Because I'm sure that people say just terminate his contract. There may be people saying, you know what, he's got a contract. We've said we're going to look after him. We should honour that. Either way, it's a mess, and it continues to be a mess.
Yeah.
So, as always, we'll keep you posted on what happened. And for different reasons, of course, you talk about what we were expecting with Donny van der Beek and the way that's panned out. This is just that cranked up tenfold, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this is just a
at one point looked like he was going to be United's greatest ever goal scorer in terms of goals, and now he literally can't get a club for the reasons we all know. We don't need to get into all that. I'm going to go through some of the super chats. Saber Mac 42 says, "Why is Joe dressed as the owner of a boutique brewery?"
Yeah, I am, because I've got a boutique brewery. That's why.
Do you ever watch Colin from Accounts?
No.
That's really good. Have you never seen that? It's an Australian comedy. It's really good. Ollie DB says, "Joe, buzzing you read about car after footy training. Thanks." What? You are?
Buzzing you read.
Buzzing you read about car after footy training. Thanks.
I'm just not getting it.
Do you know this lad?
Ollie. I did play football last week, but...
Did you read about a car?
It also wouldn't have been considered footy training. It was just 5-a-side.
Ollie, if you're still here, just put in a normal chat.
You're still here.
What? I feel like
you're talking to a ghost.
Ollie, are you there? If you're still here, put a comment in the normal comments. You don't have to pay for a super chat. Explaining what the effing hell you're on about. Yeah, I don't get it. Preeti says, "How are we so broke? Just feels joyless at times." I don't know if I've read this, so I'll read it again. Mike, who's been a member of the first team for 24 months, says, "Seen a lot of talk from people saying the club is a joke. Can we get right? The club is not a joke. The shitty way the club is run, that's the joke." Andy Wilson says, "I hope the club is sold." Hence, Right, so Ollie B says, "It was 50 characters." Oh, Sloppy Joe's Patreon question.
Oh, right.
What was that?
I don't know.
All right. I like Sloppy Joe's.
Yeah. I didn't do it. Don't look at me.
But this isn't Sloppy Joe's.
Well,
right? This is the third Sloppy Joe's reference I've had tonight.
Here's the thing. You paid for a super chat here. You didn't pay for it on Sloppy Joe's.
Yeah.
So you should be happy, if anything.
Okay. Enough. Listen, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Should we put a little link to subscribe in the chat, please, my friend? The poll ended with, by the way, would you rather see Amrabat or Hojbjerg? I think it was 90% or 91% for Amrabat to 10% for Hojbjerg, obviously. So, pretty conclusive there, isn't it? Everyone wants Amrabat.
Yeah.
Look, Amrabat wants to come to Manchester United Football Club.
Yeah.
The question is, are we going to pay the money that Fiorentina will accept, even if it's a loan move or a permanent one, whatever, to get him? Because we need a midfielder, don't we? Whether that is going to be Sofyan Amrabat or Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. I'm going to be back in the morning, Emma, with the news.
Yep.
So make sure you are joining us 10:30 here in the studio, live. We'll be here. There's a link to subscribe in the chat, so go and click on that. Big thank you as well to Surfshark sponsoring this podcast. Yes. Joe, where can people find you?
Joe Smith 93 on Instagram and Twitter.
Twitter,
yeah,
or X, as some people call it. It's up to you. Quite
Twitter,
that's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay Moy. This has been Transfers Live. Thanks for watching.